I actually just designed the school, a preschool. And it was based on an Italian principle done back in the 70s, the Reggio Emilia principle, which is basically the third teacher, the building becoming the third teacher. And the idea of the building and how it interacts with the students is key, and circulation is key, and I think you guys have addressed that. But I want to comment on this one. Like, there's also the idea when you're talking about circulation, openness, and transparency as you move through. The passing of the different ages, the passing of the different disciplines, that's where they're learning as well. So on yours, where you have the 8th, 7th, they're separated by each floor, and there's a hierarchy and a high-rise. You're putting the 6th graders on the bottom and the 8th graders on the top. I mean, that's kind of a literal thing. And I would like to see that broken up or even flipped, because the younger people, if they're up on top and they're passing through all the older things, they're going to learn more than the opposite way, because they'll never get to the top until they reach that point. So the idea of the building that way, in this particular project, teaching the kids, I think that's an important vertical aspect. On this one, I thought the idea of this collection of people, the building coming in and you're having this huge meeting point where you're actually then forcing people to come together and pass through into like a funneling system from some force perspective is very interesting. I think that works really well, on the drop-off and the influx or the departure and whatnot. But I think that it's, again, it could be more successful if there's more passing happening amongst the peers. Whereas this one, I think, is really addressed that. I mean, the different levels of walkways, the crossing over, the intersection, the transparency, that's really allowing the amount of different ages, disciplines, whatnot, to really cross over and come together. And, you can look at, the building as being a third teacher in many different ways, but the transparency and allowing a visual connection to one observe. And so whatever they're doing, they're being, obviously, if they're doing something wrong or inadequate or, harmful, someone can stop them. The other is that someone can learn from it, but there's an observation that's happening, I think is very important. The other is, the actual, we're using systems now. People can learn by structure being put up. I mean, Legos, Think about the structure in the building. I mean, kids will learn from that too. It's assembly, how things get put together, how their lives are getting put together. I think that's an important aspect too. So I love the idea of the third teacher. I've gone through the whole process myself. I think you guys are definitely along your way. And I think it's exciting that it's actually a two-turn studio, because you can now, from what we're discussing, go back and kind of adjust yourself and continue that path. So good job. Great studio.
Mark, are they going to continue the same project?
No, I'm devious. I make them swap projects. So they'll actually go from 20 projects in the studio to picking somebody else's project and then picking a partner to work on. So 20 projects to 10 projects. But it's still totally valid, because then we go to Chicago, they present the projects, and they really can, I think, reinvestigate how well each concept is supporting the third teacher. And then the students have the opportunity to interrogate the projects and the challenge them.
It's great to see all the interior renderings and the consideration of interior spaces. I think for this particular program, it makes a lot of sense to almost design a building from the inside out. But once you, and I'm sure you guys realize, once you start working on interior spaces, you're working at a different scale. You need to pay much more attention to all these interior materials, the interior lighting, the ergonomics of the spaces, the way they connect to each other. And I think it's an opportunity as we move forward on this project or any project to go from sort of the diagram of the circulation path to the rendering of that circulation path as a series of bridges and corridors. One connects to the other very clearly, but I think the next step is to start to expand on the idea of a corridor, the idea of these atria, the idea of these interior facades that bound these atria, bound these corridors. And it seems like a lot of the effort of all three students was put on the kind of laying out that diagram that the space was organized around. And then once that diagram was set, there was a lot of knee-jerk reaction for the wrapping of facades, the wrapping of handrails, the uniform placement of columns. But yet I think the potential is there. I see some really exciting interior spaces here, and I think just to get them to the next level would be a consideration of materials and a consideration of how these floors and walls and stairs can start to transform. And I guess this last project on the left is starting to get there with bookshelves becoming seating elements and the way the light fixtures are coming out of the ceiling. I think they're starting to get into that next level of development. The project in the middle, actually, the treatment of the wall surfaces, I think is heading in the right direction, but there's still more work to do on the rest of the walls and the bridges. And this project on the right, I think the excitement of the atrium created by the bridges is a great start, but now I think to develop it, what will those bridges become? Or, I mean, how can they be something more than just a plank of concrete with a little metal rail? And how can it be something other than just a ring of corridors wrapped in the atrium? In a way, I think this particular project, that exterior image with the sort of cascading plaza, the character of that, in my opinion, wants to sort of lead into this atrium, and in fact, not just the ground plane, but the bridges, the walls, the corridors that become a sort of defining feature of the entire project. That's the joy of working in interior, so take it on.
Yeah, I think Ben hit a pretty important point. I agree with every single thing he said. I think, so you guys have done a remarkable job of making buildings. Each of these is totally beautiful, being really proposed in a very difficult site and a really difficult climate. And it's remarkable for, at the third year level to be able to deal with so many complex issues. And, a program which is frankly one of the more challenging we'll have in here. So I would commend you on that. But I'm also kind of on the fence about whether it's good this early, especially in these semesters, to arrive at a building. Because I think so much of the financial exploration, maybe you guys didn't embrace risk quite enough, and so they look like buildings. And I think what little I know about the third teacher principle, it should involve a kind of radical reconsideration of what a building is. And in the 70s, when there were some really, really radical experiments that people were doing, say that the school, as a way of institutionalizing culture, is a bad thing. We should try to dismantle the school. We should have the city could become the school, or whatever. All the different ways people were trying to dismantle the authoritative role of what a school is. It prompted some, really exciting experiments, things that didn't necessarily end in architecture, college, walls. And so whenever I see a school project that has little boxes that are like, the classroom is this thing we already know, to me it says that we're not interrogating the nature of what a classroom is. And so I think there's hints and moments where you guys are taking opportunities, the exceptions in the program. And I think actually this landscape one this project is, to me, really exciting. I think reconsideration of what a ground could be when it has to negotiate multiple levels, different cultures, splitting and kind of perforating through the building in order to both be collective and also highly differentiated and produce all different spatial experiences. That is a really exciting start to something, but then became, I think, overwhelmed by the demand to have to do it. And I agree that the furniture is starting to do it there, but it could be so much further, because even though we can call it furniture and we know it's a thing, we can put it aside like a piece, it prevents it, I think, its larger potential and being a really radical space transforming thing. Or being something more like a toy. And this kind of experiment's obviously easier done for younger students, where a building can be more like an experimental thing that you play with, like in an experimental playground in the 70s as well. But I think, even though it's a middle school, there can be ways that you can push it further. And that anytime you make you rely on one of those conventions, like a column or a wall or a floor, you should be able to ask, what in the context of this open school, what will the floor be, what will the wall be? So I'm really excited by a couple of moments that are happening, and I would encourage you guys, because you have 2 semesters, don't get locked into making it even better than in the second semester, but find a way to step back and really reconsider the opportunities that are presented, because you guys obviously have a skill set that will allow you to accomplish them out. So exciting to get started.
The programmatic sort of rigor of classes, fraction of what is important here. Particularly, if this is an academic project, which means you can push boundaries, right? Like you'll be able to push boundaries that you can't in practice. And in these types of projects, like, I would suggest you push those boundaries as far as you can. And I think adjacencies are one thing, but then, you know, like this project in particular, like I look at it, I understand the programmatic principles, but then I look at it, to me it looks like a prison. Like, you know, you see that entry?
Beautiful prison.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, you know, and you think about as a student or as a child going to school, your environment and the design of your environment, not just in terms of how close your classroom is to the next classroom or how you move from homeroom to your hub or whatever that distribution pattern is, but actually what these things look like and what the experience is like, what the light is like, what the colors are like. You know, those are things that excite you, motivate you, actually engage you in terms of, which is again what architecture with a capital A is about, right? Like, as opposed to, you know, buildings that work. You know, we want to have buildings, especially in schools, that inspire and motivate and make people want to be there and want to engage. And I think this one's starting to do that in terms of, like, I actually really think the landscape is quite exquisite, and I wish there was much, much, much more of it. And I actually wish it extended everywhere. Classrooms, the ramps, the roof. Like, I actually think it speaks a lot through just this notion of a uniform. Well, in the atrium, it's a uniform ground plan. It just happens to be so. But then here they become kind of spatial gradients through section and kind of localized intensities and soft boundaries as opposed to hard boundaries. And I think that's something that is really apt to explore in the classroom, where so much of it is about engagement and kind of sharing that I think the idea of a closed classroom is probably less relevant, particularly in contemporary society with so much of teaching also being done through multimedia, wireless, and a lot of it. I have two small children that we're now looking at schools, and a lot of schools we're looking at have begun to eliminate grades per se, and they do it in sort of clusters of grades. So students that are more accelerated are not necessarily moving up in grade, they're just being taught differently. And you're always within your age group, but everybody's learning differently. So it's less about these kind of programmatic zones, and I think in that sense I would look at it much more like the whole idea of programmatic zoning, and I think it's been a case of a lot of the projects today I find very much a sort of modernist issue, a kind of Corbusian idea of the city as a machine, and your industrial center is here, your residential district is here, and this kind of modernist city is now defined America, which is why we're in fact don't want. In suburbs where they have to drive 10 miles to get to a grocery store, and if you walk out of your house, the only thing you can go to is your neighbors. You don't like your neighbors, so you drive everywhere. And I think, the sort of success of places like New York or London or Tokyo, or these kind of dense urban centers, is the variety and richness of programs and distribution of that richness. And I think that's something that I would really urge you guys to think about.
It's not just the middle school, it's the whole world.
Yeah.
Easy project, you guys.
Good points, though. I think it is very hard to get out of the preconception of stacked boxes, aggregated boxes, classrooms. I was talking to Rich earlier. He mentioned preschool that he was working on. I have a 3-year-old daughter that's in preschool, and it's a co-op. So myself and my wife, we spend time there, and it's a great little building in that it is several classrooms together in one space, and yet it's simultaneously elevated walk. They call it a softy walk. You stuffed animals, and then there's the all carpeted circle area, and then you go outside and they have desks and tables set up on the dirt, and they call them happening in the same physical space that's not a clear collection of boxes. Then another example in my, that's, when I'm not at work, and when I am at work, I'm doing a lot of university projects where the trend for higher education is very much a reconceiving of how to put together educational spaces. And two examples that come to mind, one that we're currently designing at UCLA for medical education building is this idea of problem-based learning space. And it's not a classroom, it's not a cluster of classrooms, but it's almost an entire floor that can be subdivided in a number of different ways based on the particular curriculum and use at the time that informs the space layout. So there is no fixed or static arrangement of spaces, but it's dynamic with the curriculum and the students and where it's there. Another higher education example, which came to us from the client's program for University of Utah School of Law building that we interviewed for, the client had in their program that the classroom should be coterminous with the building. And all of my team, including myself, were scratching our heads and immediately went to our dictionary to figure out what that meant. And it meant that the classroom is everywhere within the building. There is no part of the building that isn't the classroom, and there is no part of the classroom that is not sort of filling in the corners of the building. So that was sort of a radical spatial concept that we all had to stop and knock our heads around. But it became a real driver for how we organize the program. And then putting those two examples together, you have preschool and you have higher education with these radical ideas of space. And then unfortunately there was elementary school, middle school, high school stuck in the middle with these boxes. So I think either taking some ideas from the preschool organization or higher education organization and meeting in the middle. But those ideas are out there. It's exciting to see how we can not just put together boxes and let the spaces fill in between them, but provide a different way.
Break down the box. Don't compartmentalize, but create some type of unity environment that people are experiencing it together, learning from each other. I mean, it's even goes to how we live now versus 20 years ago versus 50 years ago. I mean, we're now all much more communal. Everything's open. It's not segregated. It's not little boxes. So I mean, in the process of all these projects, I mean, yes, we do need to create programs. We do have to address the program. We have to put these spaces in there. But how can you break it down? How can you go from inside outside? Does it overlap? Are there layers that are coming through? I mean, that's what makes dynamic